Okay, it's 3 o'clock, you're live.
Okay, I'll call this meeting to order. I'm gonna skip the Pledge of Allegiance. Roll.
Mr. Behrens,
Present by Zoom.
Mr. Christensen,
Present.
Mr. Frericks,
Present.
Ms. Lautner,
Present.
Mr. Noonan,
Here.
Mr. Popa, absent, excused, Mr. Travis, he must not be joining us, absent, Mr. Walter is absent, excused, Mr. Wessel,
Here.
and Mr. Yeomans.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Public comment?
If anyone wishes to comment publicly, the number is 231-256-8109.
Give those folks a couple minutes if they need it.
Casey,
Yes.
just a point, if I go off, going to go to this packet in my emails, I don't have a hard copy of it. So if I go with,
Okay. All right, I don't hear any public comment. Are there any agenda additions or deletions? Ty?
Yes. We have one from the St. Mary's cross-country event. They need approval. Laura will have some information about that.
You emailed me yesterday.
We'll put that under Veronica. I'm assuming they want to use Veronica Valley.
And the second one that I wanted to add was the possibility of our group helping with the tree planting at Veronica Valley. The Conservation District sent out a request for help, and I thought maybe we'd like to help with that, but just for discussion.
Are you talking next week, Ty?
Is it next week?
Yes.
Well, the maintenance work that Cam is organizing, is that what you're speaking of?
It was Kami's request to actually help plant the trees. I'll find that when we get to it, I'll have it.
Okay.
Okay, are there any other additions or deletions? Can I get a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So move.
Supported by Melinda. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? We have an agenda. Okay, first item, Dave, could you give us an update on the grant? The DNR grant?
The only update I would have at this point is that in normal years, I believe right about now, we would be getting, I would have heard that we were getting a preliminary score, which allows us then to look at where we might improve that score between now and the open window in, well, last year was September, in normal years it's September. I have not gotten any word on that score, that preliminary score, so there isn't much update. I mean, we seem to be at the point of waiting for that, yes.
Okay. Moving on, approval of minutes. We got meeting minutes from our regular session on May 20th.
Casey?
Yes.
Casey?
I would like to, maybe Melinda will do it, but we did have some discussion last night about the grant and approval for the resolution, but that is what generated some of the discussion on the budget. Melinda, would you feel comfortable reporting on that?
yeah, I will try. We spoke a little bit about it at budget. We have a very split mission on supporting the grant. So the votes have been going 4-3 to support going forward with this grant. The latest concerns are that we don't know all the repercussions or fallout from the COVID situation. So we don't know how our budget process is going to go this year and whether we're going to have shortfalls. And it was pretty much said that parks would be one of the first things cut if it comes to that, because it would not be a mandated, etc. So that's is if we're awarded the grant, it has to come back to the commission to be approved. That it would have to have some money at that time. Have to be able to prove that we come up with that money. So that's where we would have to really push hard on the amount of money we did set aside in faith in the last couple of years. And if forced, we would have to choose whether we wanted to spend the greater majority of our budget this year supporting the match for that grant, or even have some kind of a fundraiser, see if we could get some community support on that. But as I said last night, we put a lot of time, effort, resources into that grant. So why we wouldn't go forward and at least apply for it and see if we're lucky this year, I don't know. So it did pass, but it's a very slim margin that is passing by on the commission. Did I forget?
What's that?
Did I forget anything? I asked Ty if I forgot anything.
I think that was accurate, yes.
Okay. Well, thanks for the update, and yeah, we kind of know, I think we all know we're treading on thin ice here.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to the financial reports.
We're doing pretty good. We're used 15.78%, so not much to report.
No major repairs or maintenance bills.
Not as of yet.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Go
May I
ahead.
ask a question? Is maintenance of, to use that word, or management of the weeds in the Veronica Valley fishing ponds, is that the cost of that considered maintenance?
Would be in my mind, but
I believe it would.
Ty, I saw you had your hand up.
I did, because I looked at the capital outlay budget with the remaining funds, just again, making sure we have a plan for that.
Yeah, we've got almost the 30,000 that's going to be going out for the grub shack at Old Settlers. And I talked to Steve this morning about this briefly. I have a call into Jack Deering, hoping to get him out to my Kimberly here sometime soon and look at the trail cleanup and getting an idea of what that would cost. And I'm expecting that would chew up the rest of the majority of that capital outlay budget.
The trail cleanup's gonna be in excess of 5,000.
Okay.
Grinding those stumps. Yeah, I kind of thought it'd
Which
be.
will,
So should we get that rolling to go out to make a motion to go out to bids then, Scott?
Yeah, if that's what you wanna do, sure.
I think we should to get that moving so that we've got the money. It's there right now. I think we should get that going.
You don't really need a motion, you can just let me know and I'll get it going, and then you can, when you come back with bids, then you can make your recommendation to the full board. Does that make sense? So I'll put a note on there to follow up tomorrow morning.
Question,
Steve?
so it would be grinding the stumps in the trail and then cleanup of various brush piles, or
I'd like to see that, yeah.
I think we ought to just put both items on, and Scott can coordinate with Laurel, and so it's the cleanup of the brush piles and the grinding of the stumps.
So you'll want to draft a scope of work so that I can incorporate that into the RFP. Whatever you think you want to put into that.
Okay.
I was just, yeah, I think if we're gonna do it, we might as well do it.
I agree with that.
It needs
Yes.
to be done.
If you need help with that, Scott, just let me know where I can meet you out there tomorrow or the next couple days or something.
Yeah, I've got most of it all done, so.
Okay, just if you need something from me, just let me know.
Okay.
Cool.
All right. Are there any other questions on the financials? Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
I'll second it.
All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to committee reports, Miles Kimmerly.
Casey, we missed minutes.
We did? No,
I thought we already,
Right.
I
No,
thought
we went right from the agenda to DNR grant status and financial reports.
Yeah, we did.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I mentioned them, but then we ended up moving on. I'm sorry about that. Is there any questions or corrections? Ty?
Move to approve the regular session minutes of May 20, 2020.
Second,
All those in favor?
I,
aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Okay, now moving on to committee reports. Miles Kimmerly? Any updates, questions? Hey, Kyle. Okay, moving on to Old Settlers. Scott,
Bill.
we got the discussion on the locked gate.
Yeah, every once in a while, a lock appears on the gate, and I cut it off, and end of story. So, I think it's Glen Lake Association keeps locking it.
Okay, so there, I mean, you don't want any action from us, or, I mean, you can deal with it. That's, as long as you're cutting it off when you see it, that's all right by me.
Casey, can I make a suggestion?
Yes.
I didn't really think about it until recently, and because this is a repeat offender, potentially, it might not be a bad idea to just send this over to law enforcement to do a little investigation. They could have a friendly conversation with whoever did it, so that might help prevent this from happening in the future.
You don't know personally who did it though, do you, Scott?
No, I don't.
No, but if we had someone look into it, they might be able to track down whoever did it.
Possibly.
I mean, go ahead, Steve.
I was wondering, Scott, is there a possibility of snapping a lock in just one side or the other so they, it would dysfunction? They wouldn't be able to lock it because there's already a lock on just half of it, you know what I'm saying? Would that be something you could do?
Well, they need to be access to it, people use it.
But you couldn't disable the ability to lock it, is what I'm
No,
getting
it's a
at.
chain.
Oh, the chain, okay. Oh, never mind.
They put a chain in everything, or the chain's there?
The chain's there as well. Okay.
What is the purpose of that gate, Scott? Is there something that you guys use that for, or?
Just that access down to the lake, I mean, I don't know why the gate's there, but
Melinda?
Yes, am I on?
Yeah.
I'm unmuted. If we used to have some people who launched boats down that road. So they would pull in, back their boat, they'd actually drive down that steep hill and launch boats. So that was an erosion problem amongst other problems. So that's what we didn't want to happen anymore. So the gate was there, put in, maintenance could access the beach if needed to. And, but at the same time, it was supposed to allow people who wanted to hand carry their canoes or kayaks down there, they could still get through that gate and go do that. That's pretty much the purpose of the.
Okay.
But we also talked about, we could probably still do it. I don't know why they're locking it. I don't know what their purpose is or what they're thinking is happening that they don't want to happen. That's my question. Do they not want people to go through and launch their kayaks, or are they trying to launch boats?
Because they don't want people to launch them without being inspected at the boat launch, correct?
But kayaks too? Or
Right.
maybe, okay.
leave
Weird.
the muscles.
I mean, the other, to remove the, and pop one of those brown cement posts in, so that.
Yeah. If Scott's fine with, if you're fine with cutting the lock off, I mean, I don't think we even need to get the law involved right now. It's not really, they're not vandalizing anything. It's kind of a childish, stupid thing, but if you're fine with just cutting it off, I don't, at this point, I don't think we
I'm
need to
fine
get.
with that, you know, it's not a big deal. It takes 3 seconds. I keep bolt cutters in my truck, so.
Enjoy it.
Yeah.
I'd just hang a sign on there that tells them, if you want to save $10 on a lock, I'm gonna cut it every time you put one on there. So
Well,
you might want to
figure
just.
that out on their own, so, you know.
But anyways, I mean, I thought it was a little bit bigger deal. I thought you knew who it was. I thought somebody was giving you a hard time.
No.
But
No, nobody's,
Kyle, go ahead.
Just a question, because it was a question I had from the rules too. And Melinda mentioned it, are people launching like power boats down there? Or that's not happening at all?
No.
no, you can't launch a powerboat.
Okay, because I noticed we took that out of the rules, which I didn't know what okay.
I'm not so sure that it's the association, because there are road ends. You know, if you're trying to limit hand launching of whatever, there are road ends where you can hand launch, as well as Old Settlers. So putting a lock at Old Settlers doesn't prohibit hand launching from road ends. So I'm wondering if it might be a kind of a neighborly thing that's going on. I don't know, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and at this point, I guess it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter as long as it's not really causing that big of an issue, in my mind. Any other discussion or comments?
What's
We
the
got into
timeline on the grub shack?
Fall. Sometime in the fall. My cousin's still trying to kind of get back into the groove of things, and some materials are taking longer than others to get just because of this whole COVID thing. But he said, probably around September, late September, October.
Okay.
Veronica Valley?
Is the picnic still on, Casey?
No, it was canceled.
Okay.
Wow. First time in 100 years.
Yeah.
Like 113 years or something.
Wow.
Wow.
That's a big deal.
Moving on to Veronica Valley.
Update information. Today was the first day of treatment for the pond weeds. It is being done in 2 phases. Half of the pond that is spanned by the bridge. So we have 2 lobes on one side of the pond and 1 big lobe on the one side of the bridge towards the parking lot, a bigger lobe on the other side. 7 was concerned about oxygen depletion if they killed all of the weeds in the pond at one time. So they're doing it in 2 stages. Stage 1 was today. That's the 2 lobes closest to the parking lot. That is on that side of the bridge. Stage 2 will be within the month, but probably close to a full month from now before Mike gets through all of his schedule of second treatments. Today was to begin, well, as of last week, Bill Watson, who is the manager, the director of all of the crews that the 2% monies from the tribe are going to pay for, doing our invasive species mitigation. As of last week, Bill thought that crew would start today. Actually, I think he's committing 2 crews to it initially. But in any case, as of 12 noon, they weren't working at the park, but we are on their schedule and we're pretty high. So that work is going to get started here pretty soon. My committee will need to face the question of what do we want to look towards in the future for management of the weeds? That is, other than every single year getting into chemical treatment, because there are some options. So that's something we'll be looking at and moving towards, sort of on the top of our committee's next big set of questions. We got to look at some decisions about weed management on into the future, so we're not continually every single year doing chemical treatment. I guess that's about it. I observed myself 2 lunker bass and probably a dozen 10 to 12 inch bass in that fishing pond today. We're getting some decent overwintering, and I intend to get my fly rod out and chase a few bass. I think that's about it right at the moment.
Okay.
That's been the focus.
Moving on to the St. Mary's cross country.
So I have been exchanging a few emails. The first request from Mr. Pappas says, okay, of St. Mary's School happened about the time that COVID hit, and we were just inundated with all the stuff we were doing here. So he followed up, and parks didn't meet at that time either. So this event, I don't know offhand on this document. I'm thinking he moved it back a few weeks. So it's going to be in October, but like 2 weeks later than the last time they ran. So we have lots of time to draft an agreement for them. And all I'm looking for today is approval to enter into an agreement with St. Mary's School for their cross-country event pending council review and approval.
Aye.
Move to approve St. Mary's request.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Laurel.
Thank you.
Ty, did you want to talk about the tree planting?
Yes, I pulled up the request. It said volunteers are needed for 2 work bee mornings scheduled to help maintain native tree and shrub plantings at Veronica Valley. Join a small group of local residents, district staff, and volunteers on Tuesday, June 23 or Wednesday, June 24 from 9 a.m. to noon. So it doesn't say what they're going to be doing at that time. Maybe Dave knows.
It's really maintenance of the two tree corrals, the areas that we have fenced off, plus some of the other plantings that Dan Ariza and I did sometime last summer. Unfortunately, many of those, and those were, we had 150 trees or something kind of dropped on us unexpectedly. And Dan Ariza, one of the newer employees in the Conservation District, jumped in to help plant them, and I got in on a couple of days of that. Frankly, many of those did not survive. But the work next Tuesday and Wednesday is to do maintenance work around, well, all of the surviving trees from the two tree corrals and the other plantings, to give what we do have a good push on into the future. And we had survival. We had some good survival. But my understanding is it's not so much planting of new trees as it is maintenance of the plantings that have gone on over the past year and a half to 2 years. I will be there one day for a full 3-hour shift of work and one day just to get some pictures and meet a couple of people. But I'll be there essentially for both days.
Well, I threw that out. I don't think we need to take any action, but any of us that are free on either Tuesday or Wednesday morning could go and cheer them on or help.
I've got a little to add to that. Cam had emailed me, they've got 12 people signed up for Tuesday and about 6 for Wednesday. And she also asked if we could supply mulch. So it's about $400 for a load to have it delivered.
I'd say go ahead with the mulch, but
Maintenance, you can decide, Scott.
Okay. So if anybody's gonna go, I would say Wednesday would be the most needed day.
okay. Any other questions on the tree planting or maintenance? Okay, moving on to the 1973 Leelanau County Parks Regulation Ordinance. Laurel, did you get some correspondence on that?
Yeah, I had sent out earlier when this first came back from council. And let's see, it was Sarah Osborne had worked on this, and she utilized some of the rules that the parks had previously approved last year and kind of reworked the ordinance. And I'm sure that she was probably working also with what's part of state statute. So everything, you have a printout that shows the changes that she's suggesting. And some of the things she might be excluding might be redundant. But it's up to you if you want to recommend this for approval to the full board.
30 or 40 seconds.
If you don't think you've had enough time to review it, you can certainly move this to next month. As I see just in looking over the first page, section 3, liquor prohibition, that's already addressed on page 3 of 7G, alcoholic beverages. Alcohol is prohibited in all county parks. So I think she was just kind of cleaning it up and taking out redundancies and that kind of thing.
Do we have copies of the rules? I was kind of looking, seems like we had photos of each rule sign from each park at one point in time. Scott's got them on his phone. Maybe if we could all get those and maybe in an email version and kind of compare this to those, I think that would be beneficial. We went through a lot of work, especially with the dog thing on each park. So each park is a little different with the dog thing. Anyway, just to kind of help tighten it up a little bit, maybe.
I think that's a good idea. Bill, go ahead.
I have a question on the dog thing, since you brought it up. It's confusing on these section 5 of special rules. It's like, if I have a dog and I go to Miles Kimberly, he has to stay in the parking lot. Yet if he's a hunting dog,
That's
then he
wrong, it's
doesn't have
not
to.
true though.
Well, that's one of the reasons, Scott showed that to me. That's one of the reasons I would like to see
Yeah, okay.
the photos of the rules as they appear at the parks, because those are kind of the final versions. And the Rules Committee has reared its ugly head multiple times over the years in the Parks and Rec Commission, because as we move through it, the timeframes, different things will come up at different parks. And by definition, we've had, especially with the dogs, we've had a little different rule for each park because of a specific reason. So I think on Miles, no, having them in the parking lots doesn't make sense. But leash makes sense. And there's a specific rule that's posted at Miles.
But a general rule for all the, I don't know if this would work or not, I'm not that familiar with the parks, but just a leash, you have to have your dog on a leash in any of the
It's a
parks.
state law.
Does that work?
That I believe is all the parks.
Is that all
And
we
the-
need?
Well,
No, because each one's different.
yeah, it's
You
interesting.
got a hunting park and you got a soccer field that you don't want dogs running around on.
I see.
And then at Old Settlers, we were trying to really be limited, and as it turns out, all the neighbors walk their dogs once or twice a day, and part of their walk route is down through the park and out. So each one is a little different, and the rules will reflect that. And I think as we look at them, we can always tweak them. But anyway.
So your next meeting, we're skipping July. Your next meeting will be in August. So, Casey, if you wanted to punt this back off to the committees, or just have everyone look this over and bring to August?
I think if we just all looked it over and brought it back on August's agenda, I think that'd be fine.
Yeah, it's a lot of work done on this. I have a question. As we incorporate all this, it looks like we're going to have an ordinance. I mean, we have an ordinance, but
We have, it's from 1973,
so this would be a
a revised ordinance.
modification, revision of the ordinance we already have.
And typically, they'll post a new ordinance for this year. So it'll be 2020, probably 01, because I don't think they have any new ordinances they've approved. And then it'll just say, everything in this ordinance supersedes what was previously approved.
Got it.
There any other questions right now? Go ahead, Kyle.
Thank you. I'm trying to remember, along the thing with the signs, did we write a set of park rules at one point when we fixed the signs up? Can you remember?
Just Miles Kimberly is the only one we redid.
Okay. I guess I would just make sure if we redo this ordinance that we make sure if we have posted anywhere I thought we had a document of park rules. That we make sure that not only does that coincide with our signs, but it coincides with the new ordinance.
What we have is a parks usage document.
Use policy? Okay.
And I don't think that was actually formally approved by the Parks Commission. People were supposed to get back with me and they didn't. And I think that was last year.
We're looking for feedback.
Yeah.
Okay. Just didn't want to have two conflicting things out there. But we never did it? All right.
Not that I know of, Kyle. Anybody-
Question,
Go ahead, Dave.
has there ever been discussion of a dog park at Veronica?
Not that I know of.
I'm not aware of it. I'm not sure if it's even allowed under the purchase agreement with the state monies, et cetera, but I'm just just a simple question. Has there been discussion?
Yeah, I think people wanted it there, and that was, I think, our response was it didn't fit the nature of the park or what the park was.
That's my, also, we did have discussion, and that didn't fit within the passive, was that the word we
Yeah.
used?
Yeah.
Yeah. Same as had a request to put disc golf in there, and that didn't fit the passive understanding either.
I bring it up only because I witnessed this morning one carload arriving with 2 dogs that were on leash, and the owner seemed to keep them on leash as they headed off down the pathway, and another car coming in with a baby stroller and great big balloon wheels and 2 dogs not on leash. And I've come across, Scott's gone through this, so many users who get there and feel it's a great space to let the dog run. So they start off on a leash and they let it go. And I don't know, I just wondered if a dog solved some of that problem. I didn't know anything about the history of the discussion, and I don't have an opinion one way or the other. I just wanted to raise that question.
Valid point. Not a whole lot of discussion since I've been on here that I know of.
It's just a tough issue, and I don't know what to do about it. Either dog owners kind of understand, or they just don't think about it and do what they want. I don't know.
Don't think about it and do what they want
having-
seems to be the popular choice.
Having the rules posted gives everybody who uses the park and all of us and the staff and everybody the opportunity to make a statement to somebody, or pick up a license number and turn them in, kind of thing. I mean, if it's a posted rule and it's a state law, and you're not following the rule, then it gives law enforcement the opportunity to have a conversation with somebody. And that's why we have the rules, and now we're gonna have an ordinance. So actually a citation, I guess, could be issued. But, and then having all the signage at each park be consistent within the park was an issue for the dog control person, and that's the person that would respond to a complaint or a comment. So, maybe a call to Wayne and let him know that somebody is there on such and such a day in a white Toyota van and had a stroller and 2 dogs ripping and roaring and not following the rules, puts him on alert, and then he can keep an eye out for that person and have a conversation.
Thank you.
Sounds good to me. Any other comments about that? All right, moving on, the recreation plan review. It's on here as a circulation item, just making sure that we all know that have a rec plan and that we should be reading it and staying up to date on what's in that plan and what our goals are through that plan. And use it as our guide, but make sure that we do a little homework every now and then and keep up to date on that.
Casey,
Yes.
that might be helpful when you're looking at your budgets down the road. You
Correct.
can see what you've already decided on.
I think that is a very good point. Is there any public comment?
The number to call in for public comment is 231-256-8109.
Give them just a couple minutes.
Laurel, a question?
Sure.
So I need to go through, coordinate with you to set up a Veronica Valley committee meeting through Zoom.
Yeah, yes.
Okay, will do.
Can you see if anybody's streaming?
One.
All right.
Hi there.
Okay, any commissioner comments? Nothing from me. Motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second,
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Those opposed? We are adjourned.
Fun.
Thank you.
You guys have a safe summer and we'll see you in August.